Welcome. In this video, we will discuss about the latest ask by the Supreme Court, in which it has gone to the center and asked that how they are trying to manage the fake news. So it came in the context where they are the Tablagi Jamaat, the way they have been broadcasted by the different news channel. Supreme Court was not very happy with how they have criminalized the whole thing. So in this context, the Supreme Court has asked the center that how they are going to manage the fake news, or do they have any plan or mechanism already decided for it or not. So let's try to understand this video from the context. We will discuss the context. Then we will go ahead and try to understand what is fake news, what causes the rise in fake news, how or is there a way through which the fake news could be tackled, and basically as you and me individual, what we can do to stop the overall menace of fake news. So let's start. So the Supreme Court has recently asked the center to explain its mechanism against the fake news and bigotry on air, and to create one if it did not already exist. So Supreme Court has directly asked the center that do they have any policy in place or any mechanism against the fake news, or if not, it is like high time now that the center has a such kind of mechanism. So the court said it was disappointed with the contents of the latest government affidavit filed by the Information and Broadcasting Secretary Amit Khare in the Tablagi Jamaat case. So the case is based on the petitions against the communal color given by certain sections of the electronic media to the holding of a Tablagi Jamaat event in the national capital during the lockdown. So if you have been following news, you might have been aware of that part, that during the lockdown, which was announced on March 23rd, there was a case of Tablagi Jamaat where the people who have come for the conference of attending the Tablagi Jamaat, they were like living in a very close space in certain section of the Nizamuddin in Delhi, and it has become the very heightened point, and news channel tried to provide it with a communal color, and it was broadcast very widely. So the court was actually referring to that the affidavit which is submitted by the government, it is not very happy with that particular affidavit. So the Jamaat petition has sought a direction from the court to the ministry to identify and take strict action against the section of the media that communalized the Tablagi Jamaat incident. So basically, communalizing something where the pandemic was still going on is considered, it could be considered as one of the severe offense, and in that regard, the people who were petitioning on behalf of the Tablagi Jamaat, they have said that this strict action need to be taken. So this is the context. For your examination point of view, I am telling you so that you get the, you can like remember it from the contextual point of view, but this particular news is not very important, so you don't have to really delve deep into what was all this about. Not very important. What you need to pick up now is to know what is fake news. So let's try to understand what is basically the fake news is all about. So fake news is a news, stories, hoaxes created to deliberately misinform or deceive readers. So just understand, news is something which gives you information. Fake news is something through which deliberately misinformation is passed. So in fact, this is something which has been highlighted by the experts throughout the world, that we are living in an era of misinformation. So we have so many people, so many unverified information lying around over the internet, and all this thing has actually created the major monster of the fake news. Usually these stories are created to influence people's view, push a political agenda, or cause confusion, and often be profitable business for online publisher. So we know that there is a huge chance that the Cambridge Analytica was involved with the presidential election of 2016 in US, and in that regard it is considered that through the manipulation of the online data, the political agenda was pushed forward. But in the case of fake news also, what could happen, a certain section of a society could push towards their agenda by providing the deliberate misinformation. Now the problem is, fake news does not come in a like straightforward way where you can directly differentiate between what is right and wrong. But what generally happen in that regard is that there will be some part of it which will be true and some part of it which will be totally fake, and this is what it makes it very hard for the people to understand what is fake and what is real. So there are basically three elements to fake news, which includes mistrust, misinformation and manipulation. So manipulation is also a very important component of fake news. So while that's what I was saying, that it will not be straightforward a lie so that it is so outlandish that you can like outrightly reject it. Some part of it will be true and the other part would be manipulated for them to fix a particular perception or to push forward a particular view. In that regard, it is very difficult to catch on the fake news. So this is what fake news is all about. Now let's try to understand what are the causes which has led to the rise in the fake news. First of all, the widespread use of internet and social media. So during the time when it was only television or print media which was the source of news, at that time they were regulated. But the social media, any individual could go ahead and provide any unverified information, and then it could keep on retweeting, resharing, and it can keep on reaching to a number of people without any like legit source behind it. So obviously the major problem is because of lack of checking authority. So what one is posting online could not be tracked. It's like for even tech giant, it's technically very difficult, or it will actually infringe a lot of privacy norms if they go ahead and check on what every person is posting. So in that regard, right now the lack of checking authority is one of the major reasons through which the fake news has become such a rampant issue. No codes of practice for social media. So unlike the print media or even the electronic media, they have to follow some program code is there, which means that they can like provide certain kind of content on their platform, and they can't provide this other kind of content on it. But on the social media, there is no codes, no code of ethics, no code of conduct, nothing is there. Anything could reach out to the social media. Then there is a stratified organizations of fake news, organized and shrewdly decimating to a target population. Now this is something which is like very major issue, because all these are kind of, you can understand the side effects of how the social media and internet has been used. But this is something where the business has sprouted out from the whole idea of spreading fake news. So these are the organizations which are like highly organized and shrewdly decimating to a target population. So they are trying to like utilize the idea of internet and social media and try to manipulate the views of people for their gain. So this is something which is like very you can say evil in terms of how the fake news has been rising in the few years now. Now, what could be done? Like, is there a way to handle this kind of fake news problem which has been raised? So, the current response to fake news primarily revolves around three prongs: rebuttal, removal of the fake news item, and educating the public. So, what does rebuttal mean? It is a form of fact checking wherein the fake news is debunked by pointing out errors like mismatches, malicious editing, and misattribution. So rebuttal is something like when a fake news is circling around, you can rebut it with facts. You can rebut it with a legit source from which it's supposed to be taken. So rebuttal is one of the way to deal with the fake news. Next is removal of fake news. Technical companies like Facebook and YouTube uses algorithms to proactively remove fake news from their platform. So there are algorithms which has been made through which they are like kind of filtering out certain keyword, or kind of try to do a fact check on what has been posted on their platform. So such kind of things like removal of fake news from the platform itself could take place. And finally, educating the end users to be more discerning consumers of news by informing them of verification tools, so they can ascertain the accuracy of news item before sharing it. So it's like whenever you get a WhatsApp share, for an example, before like forwarding it, it is the awareness or the educating the public, the general public, that you have to verify that whatever you are reading, is it legitimate or not. So now let's just quickly see few of the things which we could do to stop the fake news. So first of all, consider the source. Like click away from the share to investigate the site, or like what is their all purposes. Like what is the source from which you are sharing a thing or from which you are reading something. then read beyond. Then instead of just like the headlines, read the content also, because at times in order to gain TRP, or in order to get the more viewership, what people generally do, they make some very like even the opposite kind of headlines, or very spicy headlines you can call them, but you need to read the content also to actually realize what is happening. Then check the author. So source is more along the line which website has uploaded it, which channel is publishing it, author. But also from this channel and this particular website, also check the author. The credibility of author is also something you need to check. Supporting these sources, like you also need to dig in some and do some research, that who are the parties who are supporting these resources. Like for an example, for websites, who are the one who has put their money for that channel or for that particular website. So in that regard, you would be know from where their views are coming from. Check the date. So this is something, a very important thing, which could be like easily we could get away from any kind of fake news. That at times what happen, early videos, like old videos, are recirculated in present time, and they create the kind of disharmony in the society. So checking of date is one another thing which you and me could do to stop the prevalence of fake news. Then, is it a joke? Like this is something, it's like if something looks very outlandish to you, like for an example, there was this, that India national anthem is declared as the best by the UNESCO. So you can understand from those regard that this is something like why UNESCO go ahead and actually do such kind of research. So these kind of things could look very outlandish at front. So you can actually go ahead and again check the source and figure it out. Check your biases. Now this is also very important. What happened in your psychology, we learn about that we are more inclined to accept the fact which we ourselves believe in. So we have to keep a check on our biases before consuming any news. We have to also try to understand whether it is only feeding to our biases, or are have we made the tick mark on the other checklist that we just discussed. And finally, ask the expert. So it's like if after everything you have done on your part, you are still not able to figure it out, it's better to reach out to experts and to not share it. That is something you could do. So these are the few things which you and me could do to stop the fake news, because we don't want to live in an era of misinformation. Internet has empowered so many people, it has provided information in the hands of so many people. So in that regard, it is very important that it does not become an era of misinformation. So I hope you have understood this video. If you have any doubt, feel free to drop a comment. Thank you.